Hey guys, this is Isabella from Launchpad, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to make a theremin. This theremin is not a traditional theremin that you might know and love. We're not going to be playing this with our hands and antennas. We are going to be playing with light. So, how we do this is with a photoresistor and an NE555 timer chip. So, let's get started. So, the heart of this circuit is based off of this chip right here. This is the NE555 timer chip. So this chip has 8 pins, and how you tell which pin is which, you look for this little notch at the top of your IC. So it's kind of a little semicircle. You might have to like wiggle it in the light to see the little notch at the top. But once you find the notch, whatever is to the left is pin number 1. Then you count downwards, 1, 2, 3, 4, go across, 5, 6, 7, 8 upwards. So it kind of makes a little U shape. So let's start with this and put it onto our breadboard. And there we go, we have it connected to our breadboard. So the first thing that I like to do when making a circuit and reading a schematic is make all the patch connections that you can just make with these patch cables, and then I add the components afterwards. But you can do it however you like, whatever your preferences are. The first step that I'm going to do is start with connecting pins 4 and pins 8 together, and connecting pins 2 and pin 6 together. A tip for reading schematics: whenever you see a dot like this means it's a node, it's a connection of some sort, and you definitely want to connect them together. If you ever see a line with a little jump and then continuing, don't connect them together. They're not meant to be connected together. Just make sure there's that dot, and that means it's a node that you need to connect. So, first starting with pins 2 and 6, we're going to look for pins 2. So my notch is right here at the top. So that means this is pin number 1, and that means the next one is pin number 2. So let's first put our patch into pin number 2. Okay, cool. Now we're going to use the other side of the patch and connect it to pin number 6. So if my top one right here is pin number 8, we're going to go down to pin number 6. And there we go. There's that first connection done. So now we're going to connect pins number 4 and pin 8 together. So I like to keep my colors consistent, but you can pick whatever colors you want to pick. So pin number 4 is this bottom one down here. And pin number 8 is this top one on the other side. Okay, there we go. We got 2 and 6 connected and 4 and 8 connected. The next thing that I'm going to do is connect my power and my ground. Looking at the schematic, we have pin number 8 going to VCC, which stands for our positive power rail on our breadboard. And this little arrow stands for ground, which is our negative rail on our breadboard. So let's make those connections real quick. So using a black wire, I'm going to connect pin number 1 to ground. So pin number 1 going into our little blue negative rail here on our breadboard. Awesome, there we go. So the next thing that I'm going to connect is pin number 8 to VCC, aka our red power rail right here. Get a red wire, pin number 8 right here. Here we go, into our positive on this side. And there we go. The next step that we're going to do is make little patch cables coming out of 8 and 7 and 8 right here to connect this resistor, and we're going to make 2 patch cables from 7 and from 6 going out that we're eventually going to connect our photoresistor to. So let's start with that. I'm going to start with pin 6 and pin 7 using these yellow wires. I'm going to put them out to the side of the breadboard just so we have space for this photoresistor out on the side. So find pin number 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 right here. Out somewhere far-ish away, like so. Then we're going to connect this one to pin number 7 and bring it out to the same general area, as long as it's not in the same row, because on a breadboard these rows are connected and these rows are connected this way. So connected vertically here and connected horizontally up there on the power rails. So let's connect to pin number 7. Alright, pin number 7 out into the same general area but not the exact same row. And there we go. So as you can see, they are close together but not quite in the same row. Now I'm going to do the same thing with pin 7 and pin 8. So patch from pin number 7 out onto the other side of the breadboard, out of pin number 7, and our last connection is going to be out of pin number 8 onto the other side. And once again, I left a little space as long as they're not in the same row, because we're going to add our components to these sides now. So, according to our schematic, out of pins 6 and 7, so that's this connection right here, we're going to add our photoresistor. And out of pins 8 and 7, which is this side right here, we're going to connect a resistor. So for the fixed resistor connection, I'm going to use a 520 ohm resistor. And I'm going to put that between where we made the connection of pin 7 and pin 8. And I'm going to put one leg in between both. Go. Alright, so one leg is going into this side with this yellow wire, and the other leg is in the same row as this wire. So now I'm going to do the same thing, but with our photoresistor here on this side between these two wires. So we're going to connect this leg with that yellow and the other leg with the other yellow. There we go. I have our photoresistor connected between the pins 6 and 7 and the resistor between 7 and 8. So the next step that I'm going to do is connect this 47 microfarad capacitor out of pin 2 into ground. So as you can see, I'm doing that right here. If you want to do it out of pin 6, that's totally okay too. It just works for me because my ground is closer on this side with pin 2. If you were connecting all of your grounds on this side, you could also connect it out of pin 6 into ground as well. This isn't polarized, so the legs aren't going to matter. So we can just connect out of pin 2 straight into ground. Alright, there we go. We have that capacitor connected to ground. And this capacitor is what changes the pitch of our theremin. So if you added a higher value capacitor, it would make it a lower pitch, and the lower value, the higher pitch. So if you want to play around with different values, you totally can. So once I have this capacitor connected out of pin 2 into ground, I'm going to go with our next capacitor and connect it out of pin 3 into an empty row over here. Now this capacitor is polarized, which means it does matter your positive and negative. One way to tell with capacitors, look for this little line. It might be white, it might be blue. The point is, it's going to be a different color. It's going to have little negative signs on it. That's how you know that side is negative. It's also the shorter leg of the two. So this is our negative and that is our positive. So we're going to connect our positive side out of pin 3 and our negative side out into an empty row somewhere. Like so. So there we go. The meat of our theremin is pretty much almost done. So all we need to do now is add our positive and negative to connect into our battery and our positive and negative for our speaker. So if we go back to our schematic here, our speaker is connected positively through the capacitor. So we're going to have a red wire coming out of this capacitor that's going to connect to our speaker. The other side of the speaker is going to be connected to our negative power rail. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. So I'm going to take a red wire and I'm going to connect it out of this capacitor that we have here. Make sure it's in the same row and leave that out for now. The next connection that I'm going to do is using a black wire and plugging it in to our negative power rail over here. For now, I'm going to leave these empty, and then I'm just going to remember that these are for my speaker. I've connected all of my positive connections on this side and all my negatives on this side. So at the very end of my breadboard, I'm going to have a black wire at the very end for all of my negative connections and a red wire at the end with all my positive connections. And there we go. So that is our whole schematic done, and now we can test to see if it works. I'm going to use some alligator clips to connect my batteries together. So I didn't have a red alligator clip, so I'm just going to use that one as my positive and use the black as my negative to keep the colors consistent. So clip on our negative there and clip on our positive. There we go. Put those out to the side for now. The next thing that I'm going to connect is my speaker here. So you can find these on Amazon for super cheap. On the back of the speaker, we are given our positive and our negative side, and the colors are black and white, so everything will be very easy and consistent to connect. So let's go ahead and connect this. So I'm going to connect our black wire here into the black wire of our speaker, and the red into the red. Pull that out to the side there. Okay, so we have our speaker connected. The last thing that we're going to connect is our battery. And the second we connect the battery, this should supposedly work. So on the sides of your battery, it tells you whether it's positive or negative. So this side is negative here. So I'm going to put the alligator clip on that. And for our positive, we're going to connect our positive side. And there you go. That's how you make a light-dependent theremin. Thank you for watching. Let me know if you have any questions.